The guy that invited me, she says, was like 15th or 20th in line to the British throne. So that gives us a few options, right?
Well, let's
so
talk about the options, because they can't sue us. That's the way it is.
No.
No, they can't sue us at all. HR are busy.
Did you ever in your life think we'd be talking about Kris Jenner talking about Meghan Markle's gym?
Right.
I mean, I have said for over a year now, Mike, I have said, just watch this space. Meghan Markle will collaborate with the Kardashians. The Kardashians famous for a sex tape, because Meghan Markle is desperate for, any sort of relevance whatsoever. And here we are with Kris Jenner and Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen, who is also a good friend of the Kardashians, but absolutely notorious in the States for telling a 16-year-old girl to go kill herself. Bullies unite, I guess. But Meghan Markle distributing more of her jam to some celebrities. Again, we've talked about this influencer push, which is so bizarre to me when not a single soul can go on her website right now and purchase it. So what's the ultimate objective except attention seeking from the Montecito duo? I'm shocked.
I know.
These are details that would make even Sacha Baron Cohen blush. This is in Rebel Rising. And if you have followed this kind of drama throughout Rebel Rising, there have been what we believe is Sacha Baron Cohen, but perhaps it's some of these other individuals mentioned. There have been issues with it being released all over the world. It's getting postponed because there are people pushing back saying, I don't want to be involved. And this one story that is circulating, which honestly we should have, I'm surprised we missed it for so long, is Rebel discussing being approached. She said, I got thrown a last minute invite to a tech billionaire's party. The guy that invited me, she says, was like 15th or 20th in line to the British throne. So that gives us a few options, right?
Well, let's talk about the options, because they can't sue us. That's the way it is.
No.
No, they can't sue us at all. HR are busy. 15th or 20th in line to the phone. What?
I said HRH.
So she's basically saying, in her book, that somebody in the royal family invited her to an orgy. Did she give any more details? Did she go to the orgy?
I mean, she says extended person. But she does say that somebody brings in an illegal substance, and that person says, when she asks if it's candy, because she gets excited, which is totally a me move. Like, if there is candy, yes, and that person's like, that is not candy. But he said, this is typically what we bring in when the O word starts. And she said now the Windsor, she refers to them as the Windsor, made a comment about how they needed more girls. And she said it all starts to kind of come together that is why they needed more girls.
So
because there is a very specific...
Who do we think it is?
I don't know. I don't want to imagine anyone doing that.
I do. I've got a really good idea. What you're reading? Read us an extract. She removed his... It's going to be some sort of Mills and Boone moment, this. What you got?
Well, no, it just says, so I'm like 2 minutes away from being in an orgy for my first sexual experience. Do you know what? I won't read on.
Now she's made this claim in the book about an unnamed member of the British royal family. I think we can say they're a fairly minor royal. She describes them as being around 15th or 20th in line to the throne.
Like she couldn't Google it and check, so she's done that on purpose,
well,
hasn't she?
Maybe she didn't know. I don't know. It was in 2014, and she said she was invited to this party at the home of a tech billionaire just outside Los Angeles. She dressed up in kind of a medieval-themed costume. She turned up at the party and realised this was more than an ordinary party. And a lot of lavish excess, and she realised she wanted to get out of there pretty quickly.
Huge number of drugs.
Yep, there were drugs being handed round on a plate, she says, looking like sweets. She was told that this is the time that the orgy normally begins, and she said she hitched up her skirts and she did a runner.
Yes.
And she got out of there. But as for the British royal, we don't get any more details apart from the fact that they were fairly low down the line of succession at that point, and that they were the ones who gave her the invitation.
And everybody's speculating, and obviously we can't descend to such a lowly thing to do. But I mean, there are various male members of the royal family who will be singled out for some kind of censure because of this, won't they? And they won't like it.
But I mean, what we have to do is look at, what does she say? They issued her with an invitation to her friend, said they needed more girls at this party, and then that's kind of it. But what, of course, it does when you start talking about a member of the royal family and these wild parties in Los Angeles, of course, it piques everyone's interest, and it's not bad for book sales, is it?
No, not at all. Let's bring Afia into this conversation. Were you surprised to hear that a member of the royal family might be having an absolute blast at a drug-fuelled orgy, or is this the sort of thing you expect to hear, Afia?
Well, not necessarily the kind of thing I expect to hear, but on the other hand, I wasn't necessarily surprised by this in any way, shape, or form. Now, she says like 15th or 20th in line to the throne. So we have no idea who that is. I was looking at the line of succession this morning, as was Sarah in 2014. We're trying to figure out who that was, and there's some pretty minor royals that we really don't know anything about down there. You know, she could have got it wrong. It might have been someone else, you know, someone much lower down in the line of succession or much higher. But this is all about the book sales. Rebel Rising has already provided us with some pretty salacious headlines. And whenever you have royals, drug fuel party, orgies in the same sentence, of course, that is going to sell more books.
People are, of course, shocked. It's on the cover of TMZ, page 6. All of the big, entertainment news outlets, people love this story.
They do. But, of course, it's one of those guessing games that you could never really get right. And, I mean, we would not be in any position whatsoever to ever cast aspersions of any kind on anyone in particular. But we can tell you who it's probably not, I suppose. It's probably not Prince Andrew, because it's too far removed from him. It's not Prince Harry, too far removed from him. It may well be one of many less plumed people, shall we say, who have been 15th or 20th or even 40th to the throne. But speculation, I suppose, doesn't matter at this point, because if you're not naming anybody, you don't have to worry.
Right. Well, legally, she's probably in the clear. You're absolutely right. Now, Rebel does have a history with Prince Harry. She showed up at one of his polo events in Santa Barbara, and there was a really glowing exchange between the two of them. And it was kind of when the Sussexes were in a lull. I mean, when are they not? But it was kind of when the Sussexes needed some Hollywood sparkle. They needed some support from Hollywood. So it was great that she showed up. But months later, she actually told Bravo's Andy Cohen that Meghan was ugly to her. And Meghan was not nice to her when she asked about the children. So we know she does have a relationship / history with Prince Harry. It seems like she gets along well with Prince Harry, but not necessarily Meghan.
A charming "Now I Am 6" photograph of Prince Louis, fourth in line to the throne, taken by his mother, and looking very, very much a Middleton in his facial expression, like his older sister Charlotte, who's 8. Their older brother George, in my mind, looks very much Spencerish in his facial appearance. What has happened here, and it's quite interesting, is that it had been the practice of the Prince and Princess of Wales to release photographs of their family taken by the princess under embargo the night before. This didn't happen this time, and I think there was a bit of a payback going on here, because you will remember that 6 weeks ago, the princess was severely criticized, rather unkindly and cruelly in some ways, when she released this photograph of her family. The picture was actually taken by Prince William, but then she altered it, she photoshopped it, she edited it, and this brought down upon her head some severe, scathing criticism. One agency, Associated Press of America, said that every future royal photograph would be forensically examined, and they did make quite a big fuss about it. Now, on this occasion, this photograph has been put out. Nobody's had the opportunity, because they put it out on their social media account, now called X, used to be Twitter, and the forensic spies and investigators and invigilators won't be having to look at his shirt to see if the checks match up, because, as the palace has said, it is an unaltered image of the prince, and nice to see him looking so smiling and happy. Quite difficult for a parent to take a photograph that's worth putting out. I know that by a long experience. Probably you do too, JJ. But it's a nice photograph. But I think the Waleses are having their little say, their little payback here.
So going forward, can we expect them to bypass the press altogether and just put out pictures via social media?
Well, it remains to be seen. The next birthday is for Princess Charlotte. That's in May. I think they'll do the same thing again, because I do know that she was very hurt by all the criticism that came down, and then she had to issue a statement putting her hand up and saying, I did it, you know, and quite a lot was made of it at that time. And the criticism came upon her head at a time when, of course, we didn't know at that moment that she was suffering from cancer, but I'm quite sure she had other things on her mind, and that was quite hurtful to her. So I think the proper manners will be maintained, but the Waleses will continue to do it their way, and I think they have every right so to do. What would have been worse would have been, at this particular time, having to invite in an outside photographer while the mother is undergoing treatment, chemotherapy for her cancer. And they haven't done that. And the photograph is quite charming. And of course, as you said, it spiked all the rumors that were going around that they were going to, in some way, take action in a spiteful manner. They haven't done that at all. They put out a lovely photograph, and thanks for all the good wishes that they've had for Prince Louis.
Well, let's talk about Prince William and the Princess of Wales's little Louis, because a lot of us woke up on Wednesday under the impression that we weren't going to get a picture of Prince Louis. Tell us what happened and how the day unfolded.
Yes, it was a happy surprise, really, because usually we do get a bit of a heads up that we're going to get a picture released, and we've all become very used to having these gorgeous pictures of the Wales's children photographed by the Princess of Wales, and we did get a heads up actually just hours before it was published online on their social media channels, so a slightly different way of distributing these images, not to the press first as has happened in the past. And it's a lovely candid shot taken, we're told, by the Princess of Wales at the family's home earlier this week. We haven't got any details about how they will be celebrating. A 6th birthday party, I can imagine, is going to involve friends at some point. Birthday cake, lots of presents, you know, seeing his extended family. Louis is very, very close to Kate's parents, his grandparents, Carol and Mike. He spent a lot of time with them over the Easter. So I think it'll be slightly pared down, of course, because Kate's going through treatment at the moment, but they will make sure that this birthday is marked. And I have to say, Kinsey, when it comes to the Waleses, you never see them doing big, ostentatious birthday parties, you know, with ponies and petting zoos and everything else. They tend to keep it really low key, and I'm sure that Kate will have done what she does for every child on every birthday, which is bake the cake and be enjoying that over a family tea party.
So sweet. I love to imagine her in the kitchen, and we've actually seen some of her in the kitchen with the fixtures of her and the babies. I believe they were cooking cookies or something so cute.
Yeah, she often has them in the kitchen, and you know, this is obviously a really difficult time for them as a family. You know, Kate's focus is very much on her treatment and her recovery between those treatments, and so of course she's going to be spending a lot more time at home. And so I would imagine that things like baking and spending time with the children will be really, really joyful moments for her, and things that she enjoys and looks forward to, and things that will distract her from the obvious concerns and worries as she goes through what she's going through. I suppose it would be very nice to know that there will be royal visitors for Prince Louis. We know that the King and the Queen are both in Scotland at the moment. They were photographed on April the 21st, leaving church at Crathie Kirk. That was, of course, the late Queen Elizabeth's birthday. So I think it was a sort of private moment to mark that important anniversary. But I'm sure they will be seeing Louis at some point. The King is very, very fond of his little grandson. And I think the nation is too. I mean, Kinsey, there are so many wonderful moments, aren't there, involving Prince Louis, up there usually on the balcony, I don't know, covering his ears or sort of screaming in mock horror or doing his double-handed wave. I mean, he's a really gorgeous little boy who I think clearly brings a lot of love and fun into not just the Wales family, but the wider family as well, and enjoys, as I say, a very close relationship with the King.
But a charity founded by King Charles, because they plan to stop young people moving away from the countryside to help bolster rural communities. The Rural Countryside Fund is hoping to raise £15 million over the next 4 years to invest in innovative rural projects to help farming families. The expansion has the firm backing of the King, who has long cherished a deep love of rural life. I've got royal commentator Rafe Heidel-Manku with me here to discuss this. Rafe, welcome back to the show. It's an interesting situation, this, isn't it? Because there are two, for me, sort of very distinct parts of the countryside. There's the people who live sort of rather high on the hog in the stately homes and the rather nicely run farms. And then there's the rest of them, the people who sort of don't really make very much money, who don't live in vast, you know, sort of estates, and who grub around doing pretty blue-collar jobs most of the time.
Absolutely right. And the King, of course, is one of those stately home dwellers, but he's always been passionate about those very disadvantaged communities you're talking of. So this actually is a good news story to discuss.
Is it?
The King founded this royal fund in 2010 precisely to help struggling for farming and rural communities. His Majesty has always had, you know, a deep and abiding love for the rural lifestyle, for farming and for rural communities. And they really do need help. You know, only 6% of farmers in this country are under 35.
Yes.
2/3 are over 55. The farming community have declining standards of living on every level. The incomes are going into free fall. The ability to even you know, face up to competition from abroad now is increasing, particularly badly. And people aren't being trained in land management techniques, in basic skills. You know, for years the King has had a charity which has trained people in doing things like drywall construction.
Yes.
You know, there's wonderful English walls.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of these skills and traditions are being lost, and the King has really done for a long time what he can to try to improve that. And so what this fund is doing is really trying to ensure that there will be a future for young people, because the brain drain that we're seeing from the countryside to the cities is so dramatic and drastic that the entire farming world probably has never been in such a bad situation as it is right now.
One of the projects that the fund supports is Countryside Learning Scotland, which works to combat rural skill shortages by expanding outdoor learning in secondary schools. I mean, that's the other problem, is that when you live in those, and because I know, because I've lived there, in some of these rural places, the transport links are terrible. You know, if you happen to be near a main railway line, that's all fine and dandy. But if you're not, you know, there are some, I mean, I lived in a village in Wiltshire where there was one bus that went into the main town in the morning at 9 o'clock, and another one that came back in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. And if you didn't have a car, you weren't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of older people couldn't even go shopping. The schools were not very well supplied with teachers. They didn't really have a very good academic record in many ways. You know, the good schools in the countryside tend to be private. You know, it's very, I mean, the whole situation has been allowed to deteriorate, it seems to me.
Well, you know, everyone's talking about having these 15-minute cities, you know.
Yeah.
I think it would be much more useful to actually try to provide that sort of a network
in a town,
in a village, you know, in the countryside, where people actually can have
I mean,
the services that they need.
Call me old-fashioned, you know, walk down a high street and there's the butcher, there's the vegetable salesman, you know, there's a dairy.
With the local produce.
With the local produce, which is coming from
But that's why I
around the
think training people in secondary school, introducing them is great, because, you know, why send everybody off to universities? We talk about apprenticeship schemes for people in sort of industry, but actually we should be doing the same thing for people in rural communities to give them that passion for farming and the skills that they need, business skills and technical skills, to become successful, and therefore people can actually, you know, work and live in the communities in which they were born.
Exactly.
The Princess of Wales has received a unique honour from the King in recognition of her years of public service. After being appointed to the Order of the Companions of Honour, Catherine has been made a Royal Companion of the organisation, which was founded by King George V in 1917 to recognise outstanding achievements in the arts, sciences, medicine and public service. It is the first time that a member of the royal family has been appointed in the Order's century-long history. Jack, What does this tell us? Why has the king decided to do this for his daughter-in-law?
Well, I think this is a real vote of confidence in Kate and her future, and you know, a real kind of thumbs up for everything she's done for the monarchy so far. It obviously comes at a very difficult time for her because she's going through a lot. Charles knows all about that. He's going through the same thing himself. And this is a way for him to say, you know, you're valued and you're appreciated, and everything that you do for the monarchy is noticed and wanted.
And what do you think it will mean to the Princess of Wales, Christine?
I think this is it's a personal recognition, but I think the fact that she's been recognised for contributions to the arts, for her work with the V&A and the National Portrait Gallery, the photography projects she's taken on, even the art therapy projects she's taken on. I think this is a real vote of confidence in the work that she's done over the last decade and more.
It is the battle of the jams. Buckingham Palace has released a video promoting its own strawberry jam. Just days after Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, unveiled the first product that she'll be selling through her American Riviera orchard brand, which just happened to be strawberry jam. So which one will you be buying, I wonder? Joining me in the studio, talkTV's royal editor, Sarah Houston. So nice to see you. And down the line, we have royal commentator Emily Andrews. I mean, you can't help thinking, Sarah, that Buckingham Palace is being just a little mischievous here.
Transatlantic jam wars. Yeah. I mean, I love this as a marketing ploy. It is inspired, isn't it? Buckingham Palace shop posted this video last night of the strawberry jam that they sell in their shop for £3.99 a jar, I think it is, with this very slickly edited video of the 4 different ways you can eat our jam. And as you say, it just happens to be strawberry jam. Where have we been talking about strawberry jam for a while? Normally, you'd get, you know, a few hundred views on this and 20-odd comments. They had 600 people instantly commenting, suggesting that they were throwing shade at Meghan Markle, or it was a subtle trolling by Buckingham Palace of American Riviera orchard.
Let's go back to something else you said there. You said that Meghan likes to do everything straight away. She can't wait for things. She's done a soft launch of her website, American Riviera Orchard. She sent out 50 jars to her friends and influencers, something that lots of celebrities do when they're launching things. So she is taking this one slow, and eventually she'll launch the website, and it's probably going to be a success. So what do you say to that when you're saying she has to have everything immediately?
Well, you've got to listen to what I said before. I spent 15 months with Prince Harry writing his biography. So I think I know him very well, and I think I can tell what mood he's in. So I don't think you can say to me, oh, it was just I was wrong about that, because I think I was right. And when I see him, Meghan pulling him along and he's always behind her, I feel exactly the same.
When do you see that? When do you see that? Are we looking at, OK, here's some video footage here. Is Meghan pulling him along there? He's grabbing her wrist, pulling her along.
How
you interpret things is how you interpret things.
They're being ridiculous.
How many you interpret things in a very strange way.
Meghan and Harry walking, well, that's my way.
Oh, well, there's another video of Harry walking in front of her, pulling her along. It's not Meghan doing it, is it?
Well, you've picked
Angela,
those two. You might have picked those two, but I've found them when she's pulling him. So you can't tell me out of 2 pictures that I've got something wrong.
Well, it sounds like you've got a vendetta against Meghan Markle. That's what it sounds like. You sound like, Angela, with respect, you sound like a troll. You sound like a social media troll. Everything you can point out that's incorrect.
Very rude. You don't call someone a troll with respect. That's without respect.
No, it is with respect.
Let me talk about something else. Abigail Spencer, who is also a friend of Meghan's, she has given the 6th jar of jam, right? And we would see her lying on the grass, hugging it with the dog close by. It was a very sort of set up thing. That's one when she's sitting up. You're sitting down. And I thought, you know, how ridiculous. This is a jar of jam. Why are we all getting hysterical about a jar of jam?
Who's hysterical about it? It's PR. She's trying to sell something. This is called advertising.
I know what PR is. I know what PR is.
Well, with respect, clearly you don't. You're saying it's so set up. It's a PR stunt.
You're here to fight me, so why don't you say goodbye?
I'm not here to fight you. I'm just laying out the truth to you.
You're very rude.
No, Angela, you don't want to be challenged. You won't be challenged and you won't be scrutinised. I'd like to know. Oh, and she's gone.